welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the Wrestling Roundtable. I am your host, Eric Santamaria, and introducing the panel sitting to my left, which is, film archivist and fan of, 15 years combined, Chris Harris. And to my right, which is your left, is Rodney LeConte, whose film is going to be debuting at the Wildwood Film Festival on Saturday, the 27th of September. So if you can get down to Wildwood, New Jersey, check it out. It's his best work to date, Between Two Worlds. Music director and instructor, Lawrence Haber. And it's been a little while since we've been on, about a month and a half, and so I'm sure you guys are a little relieved, those who keep leaving messages, when are you going to come back, when are you going to come back? We are back. The TNA Hard Justice pay-per-view, their debut in New Jersey anyway, pay-per-view. Now, I went to this same arena, the Sovereign Bank Arena, a couple years ago for Raw, where Shelton Benjamin won his last Intercontinental title against Ric Flair. And I remember the building being pretty full. Yeah. Wasn't quite full this time, was it?
Not much. For that Raw, there were people like hanging from the rafters, and that night,
a little bit of the opposite, to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, they had half the arena full, basically. A lot of it was papered, I'm sure. But they, of course, put them on the hard cam side so everyone could see it. But regardless, this was actually my third TNA show. And it's been my third different one. I've been to a house show, I've been to a live TV, and this is third for me, pay-per-view, first pay-per-view. This is your first TNA show. Chris and Rodney and myself all went. What was your first impression of seeing TNA live for the first time?
Well, I have to admit, it was cool seeing people like Sting live, which I've never seen live.
But you turned into a little kid.
Oh yeah,
as soon as Sting showed up, he started jumping. Sting!
Sting! Oh, I like Sting. I really like Sting. He's one of the guys I always want to see live. And seeing, people like Samoa Joe and Brooklyn Teen Angle live was cool, especially the seats we had. But it didn't have the pay-per-view feel.
No.
I think maybe because the way the arena, I don't know if it was the way it was structured, but the attendance, especially from our view, where we see half an empty arena, it just didn't have, not even a TV feel. It kind of had a large indie feel.
Well, you'd think it was because of the attendance or more because of the pacing?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
A little bit of both.
The only way I can compare it is TNA is like a woman. They'll only leave you satisfied when you give them money.
Well, this is a pay-per-view, that is the idea. But to me, you mentioned guys like Sting or Nash or whatever, the older group that is like the familiar faces seeing once more. But also for the younger guys, obviously in this tri-state area we've gone to Ring of Honor shows, and you were going to see guys like Homicide, Samoa Joe. Now you get to see them there on somewhat of a bigger scale.
But it didn't seem that much bigger.
No, it didn't. It seemed
even in the Manhattan Center, it seemed a little bigger there than it did down in Trenton.
So half the arena being empty took away from it.
Yeah, it did a lot.
I think more.
I think the crowd wasn't as hot too.
Well, they were standing up a hell of a lot. I don't understand, why is it when you go to a wrestling show, if you're in the front row, you would stand up during a high spot. You're in the front row. Stop it. You're sending a domino
People
effect.
who are sitting behind you.
So anyway, aside from that, let's get to the content of the show.
Right.
And was there any match or act that in particular stood out to you guys?
The Knockouts match, I thought was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I didn't have no idea who the beautiful people were. I had never seen them before. I'd seen Kong and a couple of other ones, but all those girls, they put on a hell of a match that really puts the Divas all to shame.
Yeah, see, that's the difference with their girls versus WWE's girls. Their girls are hot and they can wrestle. See,
great.
WWE, they try to force this wrestling technique on them, which doesn't work. Exactly.
They bring in a lot of indie worker
instead of models. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there is a good pool that they've been searching through for their talent in the women's division. And obviously people think about like Shimmer or other women's only companies, and there still are a lot of good women's wrestlers out there. One of them who has come up is their champion now, Chantel Taylor, and she's Taylor Wilde now. For me also, now you hear a lot of stuff, because we don't watch much television, as you know, but we read a lot of stuff, keep up on the news, and you'll hear the Knockouts division is really good, so this is your first time seeing it for yourself.
Yeah.
My version of that was Beer Money, because we've been hearing about Beer Money, they're good tag team and this and that, and I thought, well, I really don't care for them individually, but together, maybe they got something. Yeah. And I've always been a fan of Jacqueline anyway. That's just me. But I was looking forward to that match.
Not just you.
But I was looking forward to that match in particular. and I was impressed. Every wrestler, if you look for it and take the effort to find it, can pretty much have a role. It may not be what you expect looking at somebody, but I think the perfect example of that is the West Texas Rednecks. They, to me, are an example of that theory because who the hell ever thought you'd have a use for Kendall Windham?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
But WCW found a way.
There you go.
They found a way.
And in that sense, this is Robert Roode and James Storm now. And they won the belts and it was pretty good. And of course, I'm a fan of LAX anyway.
Yeah.
So first matchup was the X Division champion Petey Williams against Consequences Creed. Was that a good way to start off the show?
It was a good way. I mean, I don't know if having the audience boo your young up-and-coming star was a good way to start the pay-per-view, but I think those kind of matches are always a good way to start pay-per-views. You know, gets the crowd excited, gets them going, good openers. So it was a good match.
The X Division seems to have,
Lost some steam?
it definitely did, between, not to knock Consequences Creed or anything, but, he's no AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, and Petey Williams is just, a man with a finisher. That's all he is to me.
Ooh, damn.
So, it wasn't the best opening match, but I guess they could have done worse.
What about this motif that seems to be in TNA pay-per-views for the last year or two? There's at least one Fire Russo chant per show.
I mean, it's not going to change anything, so why even bother?
Well,
Yeah.
I think
We
that
saw him there too, actually, come out of the crowd at the beginning of the school. That was probably one of the highlights.
He knew
for
when
me.
to go back
him
in.
and Eric are.
Yeah, we're like that. But isn't it really unfair? Because obviously a lot of this stuff, like the chain tuxedo match, that stupid shit, is Russo style. But he's one guy on the team.
Yeah, no, but that's what I was gonna say before was that that's gonna be attached to them for a long time because like even if he's not there, this happened in the WWF and in WCW. After he was gone, that there was like a year or so where anything like Bulldog getting slammed into a pile of dog poo or whatever.
It took him a while to break out
Yeah,
of
it
that
was
mold.
still like people were like.
They still do it here and there.
Because the only thing worse than Vince Russo writing is copying Vince Russo.
Remember how on the show before I've mentioned how it seems TNA is being pulled in two different directions creatively. In that sense, we had the tuxedo chain match sort of shit with the Macho
That
Man
was
ripoff and the
ridiculous.
Guru. But
Yeah.
then,
Way too many gimmicks in one match.
but then you've got
One
Kurt Angle.
pay-per-view, every pay-per-view.
Every match was a gimmick.
Yeah.
But then you've got Kurt Angle going on interviews with magazines or websites or whatever and saying that there are too many gimmick matches and we should get back to more traditional wrestling sort of stuff. So is he doing that in his own stuff? Because I'm sure everyone would pretty much agree the best match of the night was AJ Styles and Kurt Angle's last man standing match.
But would it had to have been Last Man Standing to be the best match of the night? If it had just been a straight up one fall, three
Probably
count
would've been
match,
excellent.
we all would have said it was the best match of the night
That's-
probably
yeah.
anyway.
I mean,
You don't need the gimmick.
They have to
It's
attach
all-
something to it, you know. They're like afraid to put themselves out there just with a straight show and see what happens.
Well, I'm not inclined to go to WWE shows. I've had the opportunity to go to Raws or WrestleManias for the past couple of years, and I've turned it down because I have no interest. But I give TNA a little more of a chance because the guys have a little more leeway, and you get to see a little better wrestling. And that's why, even after this show not being that spectacular, I think I'll still give him a chance.
And you can see Sting!
Maybe I can see him wrestle.
Well, hopefully he'll keep wrestling a little longer. He is still in good shape, and Nash looks so amazing. Oh, Nash.
Being there reminded me of how much TNA rips off WWE because of the amount of backstage segments, and you have a hot match.
99
One thing I would say,
WWE.
About their backstage segments that I loved, they turn the lights off.
Yeah, in the arena.
In the arena, they turn the lights off. We were right in front of the screen, and we could see it clearly because they turned the lights off.
I was also impressed with how quick they got the cage match up, but this segment has also gone by quick, and the lights are going to stay on while we talk because we're going to move on to WWE SummerSlam when we come back from this break.
So the whole new era is over with already. Kofi and Punk and all that.
Yeah, pretty much.
They basically squashed that.
That first
Priceless
league!
is still champions, right?
Priceless. Well, yeah, Crime Time was supposed to be part of that new generation thing, not fucking Priceless. Priceless.
Are they even called Priceless?
Whatever the hell they are. 2Gs, second generation or whatever. I don't know.
They put like office.
Whatever, I don't know what
They
they're
put office
called.
towel with
Yeah,
skid.
yeah.
He wears the Samoan
He's
tights,
not that
the
much
black
of a mess.
long
He's just-
tights.
he's
just
But then he wears like normal boots, but they're not connected.
How could he be
So
Samoan and
you
wear
can-
boots?
You can see his like, it's weird. You can see like his ankle. It looks ridiculous, and he's like really not in shape, but not like a.
See, The Rock could get away with it because he was only half Samoan.
Yeah.
He should have had one boot on.